try this the other way. That's better. So we just left Colorado this morning, got to spend some time with Uncle Frank and Mimi and the kids, which was great. Haven't seen them in a couple of years. Yeah, Colorado's beautiful. Currently in Nebraska. We had hoped to be in Tremont, Illinois by the end of the day. It doesn't look like that's going to happen, unfortunately. So Dad had a test that was thought to be yesterday, and it looks like it's actually today. So we have to kind of rinse and repeat, do the same thing again.
So I'm disengaged.
Disengaged again, unfortunately.
So Josh, I read once years ago that the more education you have, the worse driver you are. Because the more education you have, the more bored you are when you're driving. What do you think about
Right.
that hypothesis?
I feel it's probably, I don't know, probably not totally correlated. I'm pretty distracted though, even if I don't have anything distract me. It's just,
Yeah, this is before smartphones.
it's before smartphones. Yeah.
Before smartphones, I read this. Back with only donuts to distract you.
Yeah. Well, you're watching Coast to Coast with Josh and Rod. Don't have any viewers yet, but we're just kind of testing to see that the stream works, because the cell signal in here is not great. Nebraska has been very boring, extremely flat and brown, and I don't know, just plugging away at the miles here. Today was to get some callers on the line. Hopefully we can hear them. That'd be nice. The topic that came to mind was, obviously the last year has really sucked for many people, and there's a lot of things we can complain about that are out of our control. What are the things that we have come to appreciate about life? Maybe we had appreciated before, but we've kind of been inspired now. So I'd like to take some calls. Would be great. Nebraska. Boring as can be. A lot of cows dotting the sides. Hi, whoever joined us here. Welcome to the chats. We got an hour to kill here till we get to Grand Island, Nebraska, where Rod will do the test that was supposed to be yesterday. So as I was mentioning earlier, it just came from Colorado. And we went out and played ball at 6 a.m. So that was fun with a bunch of locals. So that was great. My knee, which I've injured recently on a mini skateboard at my brother's house, had just healed up enough, and now I think I may have injured that again a little bit, but. So today we are thinking about what we, in the past year of, obviously a lot of negative things going on that we can focus on, and, what are the things that, hey, it's HAK, greetings. Greetings to you, hope you're having a good time. When I think back on the last 2 years, I think, again, thinking about the positives here, I think relationships and time has become much more precious. Obviously, initially, we're all sitting at home, and we'd kind of come to take a lot of things for granted. I think, having big families we can see all the time, and big. Again, the topic is kind of how have you grown, how have you changed in the last year? Maybe Dad, you want to pitch in, or are you kind of busy? What kind of perspective have you gained? Might have to talk a bit louder.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I mean, one of the perspectives I gained was that, when we had to go, especially in 2020, when we had to go online for church and stuff, was kind of difficult at first. On the other hand, there was kind of interesting. There were opportunities to really exploited our own pod, where we had a Bible study just with a few people, and we had some people coming that were more people that we knew missed that, or wonder if we should be recreating that. I think that we should increase our family, include other people more, and be able to maybe would be able to better minister to other people if we extended our family circles and brought more people.
We actually have a caller on the line, so let's connect here. Hello.
Hey.
Hey, how's it going? Who's this?
This is Ben Tikaru.
Ben, how's it going? Hope you're doing okay. Welcome to Coast.
Doing alright.
You're on the air.
month here, just grading
So,
exams.
yeah.
Yep.
Why don't you tell the audience briefly what you're up to? Give us some background.
Well, I graduated this April with a honor science bachelor's degree and specialized in bioinformatics, which is where we use like computer programming techniques to analyze like DNA sequences and mRNA sequences. So now I'm doing my master's in bioinformatics, and I'm just grading some paper or some exams for one of the courses that I TA.
Very cool. So the question for the audience here is, we had 2 years here to kind of go through a pretty crazy experience, and what kind of ways do you feel that you've developed in a good way? What kind of positives have you taken away from this?
My master's?
No, from life. From COVID, from the experience, from the time you've had to spend in like kind of reflection and all that stuff.
I think for me it's been a lot of like, hold on, let me think about what I'm gonna say.
Sure. So what we were talking about earlier was, really valuing relationships. I think that's what a lot of people, they lost that connection, even though we have, the digital ability to connect and even to have, Bible studies, church services, etc. It was still really tough for a lot of people to lose that personal connection. And I think the plus side is it makes us value that so much more. And I think too, a lot of people, health became in the focus, so I feel like I value health and like life so much more, I mean, that's, again, it's really, really difficult to a lot of people. I mean, just talking last night with Frank, and it was just like, at the end of the day, whatever we agree or disagree on about this, we can all agree this has really sucked for everybody, but I think we need to take something of it, hopefully, in a positive way, right?
Yeah, no, I agree. I definitely agree too with like the focus on relationships. I see it, when in Canada we got like a lot of like the first like quarantine we called it, and it kind of really made you realize who you were actually really close to, who really like reached out to you, and that kind of for me made me realize what was the like most important like friendships that I have. But then as time went on, I kind of started to see like, like maybe people aren't like reaching out to me because I'm not reaching out to them. And I kind of realized like an important thing that I learned throughout this all is that you really need to put in effort and be intentional about keeping relationships alive and putting in work to like grow them.
Right.
So yeah, because like for me, I was easily just kind of sucked into school and just, oh yeah, don't worry about it, like I got friends, but like whatever, they're doing their own thing, I'm doing my thing. And then now when like everyone you were isolated a lot, you were like, oh man, I actually should probably have put in more effort into those friendships because they're not as alive as I thought they were.
Right. Great insight. Thank you very much. All right, we're going to let you go now. Talk to you later. I just cut him off like I'm on a radio show. See if we can get anyone else on the line here. Maybe perhaps some California perspective. we got a caller, Michael. Michael, welcome to Coast to
Good
Coast.
morning, or I guess afternoon.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's afternoon where you are as well, so I don't think you have a good excuse.
No, I don't. I just got coming back from Ohio, so I left in the morning, and I'm still in my morning mood.
That's okay. That's okay. I hope everything went okay out in Ohio, and you guys had some good family time. I saw some pictures, and it was really nice.
Yeah, there was a lot of people showed up for the viewing. I think like over 300 people showed up just for the viewing portion, and then it was nice to spend time with family. Everyone was there, so all the cousins, all the aunts and uncles. Well, except for Aunt Tracy, she was sick, but everyone else was there. So it was nice to have everyone together, especially Grandma.
Great. So you were writing some stuff there on your perspective. You got a West Coast perspective, so that's we're very different out east. So why don't you verbalize what you were trying to say there?
Yeah, you had asked the audience to share something that either changed or some perspective changed over the last year or so that you can appreciate. We live in a day nowadays where everything happens right away. I can go online, I can order something 2 days later, it's at my door. I can, if I ever wonder what the answer to a question is, just Google it. Get the answer in 30 seconds or whatever it is. Basically, everything we do just happens. So as soon as you have to wait for something, it feels like you're waiting forever.
Right.
And I think, especially for me, and there's a few other people out there, like Brian McDonald's, who's stuck with this engagement that's now, this is going on 2 years. Yeah, I had to.
Oh, we lost you there, Michael. Are you on a bridge? It's probably in that LA traffic at an airport somewhere, maybe. Let's try again here.
There we go.
Hey, we lost you. Are you in a dead zone or something, or?
No, I'm just at home.
Oh, okay.
I didn't move at all.
All right. Must be the Nebraska air here. So sorry. There we go. That's much clearer. So you were saying kind of. Anyway, we lost you at you were engaged and just what you had to learn from that time period too.
Oh. Yeah, so I was just gonna say, we were stuck with waiting versus like us versus the government, and you don't get any choice but to just sit there and wait. I appreciated the fact that I was able to get into the headspace of realizing some things are just gonna take time, and being okay with having to wait for things. I think I just feel that back in the day, maybe if you go 50 to 60 years ago, when everything took a little bit longer, people were more trained to be patient and be prepared to wait for things. But now we aren't prepared for that. I just, as much of an annoyance as it was and frustrating, it was nice to just have that kind of unproved. I can wait for anything,
Yeah, that's great. Well, sometimes that's just it. Sometimes we don't have a choice, and we have to go through these experiences. But I could, obviously now you get to enjoy the blessings of that waiting, and be a better person because of it. Sorry, I got to not get run over by a semi truck here right now. All right, thanks, Michael. Stay safe. Enjoy your rest of your evening. We'll be in touch.
So, Josh, you think it was harder for some people than others in the isolation of the pandemic?
I do, absolutely. And I think, to be honest, and I don't, speaking from the medical community, I don't think that people we're honest about the effects of that. And I think people can, from a policy standpoint and from a higher up standpoint, oh, just another lockdown, flatten the curve, et cetera, et cetera. Their outcomes they're looking for are things like case counts and, disconnected often from the economic side and even what health impacts come from economic side. Like, I feel there's a disconnect there, and I think, we've seen, suicides actually went down during the pandemic, and I actually have a theory for that, and my theory is that when there's an external threat, people have less time and kind of less effort is spent looking inward. It's kind of when, a war, people, people aren't really thinking about my, mental health and things like this. And during, when I spent time in Africa, you did not see, a lot of depression or suicide. People were focused on survival. And I think COVID kind of initially put a lot of people in that survival mode. Where's my job coming from, my income, where's, my basic needs being met. And eventually, as time went by, the despair started to build. You see this huge rebound in death from overdose, 100,000 overdose deaths in the last year in the U.S. And even though suicides went down, they're shooting up like crazy now because this the effects are kind of, they've piled up and now they're rebounding, I think. So, it's the importance of having community. It's the importance of having a network of people to support you, and ultimately a reason for why you exist and why you get up every day. But I think even in our circles that many folks have different levels of resilience. Whether from a personality standpoint, whether from being in a big family versus being alone. We heard from folks we know who really just had such a hard time with isolation, and it's very individual. And some people, it's not the same to log in on to, Zoom meeting or Zoom church or Zoom Bible study. I think we're lucky that we can do that for a period of time, but, I think that's a very limited, you can do that for so long, and we've seen, my understanding for example, in Florida, right after in the Coconut Creek area, once church finally opened again, a lot of folks did not return. They had lost that connection, and it had been so long. So. But when you have a network, when you have family, it's sometimes it's maybe even more comfy. It's more cozy to just stay with what you're comfortable with, right?
Right. Funny, I had an interview here for my doctoral studies. One of our professors was using us to go out and do interviews for their study of the impact on fathers during COVID, right? And so I interviewed this guy, and he happened to say something about his going to church, something about church, and so I asked him about his impact of COVID on his church experience, and he said, well, they tried doing Zoom church as a family, but they couldn't hack that, so they quit all interface with church at all, right? And now coming out of the pandemic, they ended up picking up and moving. They moved to a new spot, and now his wife insisted that they go back to church, and so it sounds like he's just kind of more of a fair weather churchgoer, but he says he's going 65 to 70% of his time. The wife and kids at least are happy, and they're enjoying it again, and he's more engaged with it than he was during COVID when it was just Zoom church.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I found that was only one data point, but it made me wonder if there's any surveys out there that would show you what would be the larger sample, what was the overall impact on not just our church but in general on churches due to COVID.
due to COVID. The 3 words I could do with not hearing again. Oh boy, it's been a long drive here, folks. I think we put in at least 8 hours today, right? We left around 8 o'clock. It's 5.
Yeah, I don't know. It's the flatness that yesterday was much more exciting with this, the different, well, for us, the different viewpoint, the mountains and the plateaus, and I don't know, it's just very, very beautiful and different. And now we're kind of back to my Midwest roots here with
That's right.
the flat land stretching out as far as the eye can see here.
Cattle and manure smells and cheap gas though, $3.15. The pump and pantry. I think the thing that's been tough too in the last few years has been, you know, at least personally, has been, you know, what disagreements seem a lot more, you know, personal, or, you know, a lot more. I feel like we've kind of gotten bogged down in the, you know, whether it's politics or, you know, ultimately these things we can't control, you know, and perhaps it's time for a perspective check. What's our identity, as we talked about the other day, right? And
I mean, you know, it really made me wonder too during COVID is like, you know, what were the experience of those that have spent, especially believers that have spent a lot of time in prison, being isolated, and you know what, I mean, that was obviously, at least we were isolated with our families, but you know, if you're basically completely isolated from almost everyone else, or at least from everyone you know or familiar with, you know, what is the, how would I have done in that type of situation, and how, you know, is my relationship with the Lord strong enough that I would have been able, that I'd be able to, you know, to maintain that through, you know, through years of imprisonment.
I think at the end of the day, I mean, we talked with Uncle Frank, it's like, at the end of the day, even with all this kind of tension around us, we live in a pretty good time. I mean, we have, you know, we can communicate and contact each other easily. We can enjoy so many things. As we heard from Michael, our caller, you know, click of a button, pretty much anything arrives at your door. It's pretty awesome, and yet there's this tension, because part of it, I think, was that we can see all the negative so quickly, you know. We can get bogged down in it extremely quickly. I mean, there's a whole industry set on getting you upset and generating ad revenue, you know, so every time I try to get off of it, you know, creeps back in pretty quick. So
Where are we?
we are in Grand Island, Nebraska. We are into a Starbucks so that Rod can do his test. Some of you may have been on the chat yesterday, and that this was supposed to be an exam yesterday, which instead is happening today. So we won't get into details how that was mixed up, but
After complaining all week about my students that couldn't figure out when their final exam was here, I am used to having to have all my work turned in on Monday night by midnight, hard stop, and the class has actually been on Tuesdays, and so the final, of course, is on Tuesdays. But my stress cycle, my rhythmic stress cycle has been that Mondays is my stress day, and that's when I do all my studying and get ready for my class on Tuesday. And for whatever reason here, I guess with the wedding and stuff, I kind of lost track of time, and so I was studying for an exam on Monday that wasn't going to happen until Tuesday.
Yeah.
So here we are. I'm glad to be finally get this final exam off my back, and hopefully do well enough to pass and move on here.
Yep.
So,
Random story, but as we were pulling up to Frank's house, a bunch of cars were stopped, and someone had like just hit a deer in broad daylight, which was pretty disturbing to see. They were kind of panic-stricken, and the deer was not dead. That was kind of gross. We have arrived, Starbucks.
Yeah, see it over here.
Well, folks, we're going to keep it pretty brief today. Thanks for joining in. I'm sure the 2-hour streams are maybe a little tedious, but thankful you've been keeping us company here and there. Thankful for our callers who called in. Maybe we'll repeat tomorrow if we have some good cell service. And I guess, yeah, challenge yourself. How can you look back on the past 2 years, and how can you, what's the positives you can take away? How have you grown? What have you struggled with? And, you know, fingers crossed that this badness is behind us, and what am I going to come out of it with? You know, could have done some venison for lunch, says Michael from California. You know, that's a good point. You know, I've had a good venison soup. Syracuse, it's a winter favorite. The reason that we are so full of luggage here that I don't think we would have had any room for venison. Everything is completely packed in here. So let's see if get any last callers here. Hate to lose the 4 viewers, but we'll keep you wanting more. So thanks for joining in. Coast to Coast with Josh and Rod. Tomorrow, hopefully Rod will be post-exam, and he'll be
highly engaged.
Highly engaged.
I
All
work
right.
enough tonight yet.
Yep. So good night, folks. Oh, Ben's on the line. Let's get a call from Ben. Been anxiously awaiting Ben from Portland. Safety trip, says Dan. Wes, take care. Thank you, guys. You know what, Ben? We'll get you. Oh, he's calling. Ben, how are you? Welcome to the show. Ben, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Hey, Josh.
Hey, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm doing very well. How are you?
Good, thanks. We actually spoke earlier today, so give that tidbit away.
Yeah.
So we're, just briefly, we're talking about, obviously we all went through a lot in the last couple of years, and I mean, I think the interesting thing is this is kind of a collective trauma, right? So I went to Germany to visit my brother Caleb, and we have like such a similar experience that we've all gone through. But anyway, what do you feel that in a way maybe you've grown or you've come to appreciate certain things that you might have taken for granted?
Yeah, that's really interesting. I think it's funny that you mentioned that it's something we've all been dealing with. I think one thing that was really interesting is not this past summer, but the summer before, we had pretty bad wildfires out here. And we basically couldn't leave our house for like 9 or 10 days. And it was really weird facing that just out here in Portland and not having other people having to deal with the same issues. And so it was really interesting because COVID impacted all of us. And then there's some things that impact us like more locally. But yeah, I think like from like COVID standpoint, it was really difficult because I really enjoy people and traveling and just human interaction in general. And so to have a lot less of that was really challenging, and not being able to travel or just to meet up with people. I think I really just focused on working hard and then fortunately, I was in my master's degree at the time as well, and so that gave me a lot of time to work hard on that and just kind of put my nose to the books and work hard. And I didn't feel like I was missing out on as much because I had that going on. So I think it was a good time of just reflection and trying to encourage others that were also faced with challenging times, and especially all the medical professionals that were risking a lot, doing what they could to help others. So yeah.
All right, thanks for that insight.
Wow.
This is great. We had 3 callers on our first call-in show, and really, this is also the cool thing we can do now, right? Like 2 years ago, I don't think you could, live stream while you're driving a car and call people and have them, share their experiences. So thanks, Ben. We'll be in touch. Have a good night.
Yep. Sounds good. Thanks, Josh.
I had
Yeah.
a similar experience.
You guys-
I had a similar experience to Ben, and like I felt like from a business perspective or a career perspective, I was the most productive I had ever been in my life. And it's been kind of a difficult re-entry. I was able to go to all these online conferences and stuff and easily fit them into my day whenever I was available. I was able to focus on my schoolwork. I had no commute, and all of the classes I taught were online. So it was kind of a rough transition back into the real world here, or well, semi-real world. We're teaching with masks, and the students are wearing masks, and so I don't know. Again, we call it face-to-face schooling. I call it don't quite call it that because I can't see the student's face and they can't see my face, and I have a hard time determining what their face looks like. But anyway, so we're back in theoretically we're back in real time anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I hope probably not going back too much more. I think people can tolerate so much. But anyway, thanks for joining us, guys, on Coast to Coast. We have this is the halfway point of the trip. Tomorrow we hope to be in Tremont, Illinois for brunch, and then Akron, Ohio in the evening, and then we'll hopefully be in Syracuse Thursday in time for the holidays. So good night, take care.